Welcome everyone to another one of our fabulous virtual artist conversations. Today we're going to be speaking with the artists of Transcendental, one of our current exhibits featuring Kimberly Engel's paintings and the ceramic works of Jan Richardson. Just a few reminders before we get started. Whoever is not speaking, if you could please mute yourself. There's a little microphone, usually in the bottom left-hand corner or something like that, microphone icon. If you click on it and it turns red with a little line through it, that means you're muted. That way we won't pick up your dogs barking in the background, or children or whoever it might be. Also, if you want your face to be seen, there's a camera icon, a video camera icon, and you can click on that so we can all see your face. If you would rather not us see you, then that's fine too. So welcome everyone. Kimberly and Jan especially, thank you for joining us today. We're going to get started with some gratitudes, of course, to all of our community and our members and our board and the entire staff of Dunedin here for supporting the work that Catherine and I do in exhibitions. It takes a village, as they say, to do the work that we do. And a special thanks to all of our students who have been coming in and taking classes and hopefully taking some lessons from the work on view here. Kimberly, your paintings are so exciting. There's a lot of really beautiful mark making and color field work happening in them, a lot to draw from as a painter. And Jan, your work as a ceramicist is really exquisite, and you're doing some really outside the bound things with your wall pieces, which you don't see in ceramics a whole lot. So I'll stop talking so you can talk about your own work. And first, we just want to share a really wonderful video that Catherine has made. She has taken it upon herself to learn a video program, and this is for everyone who can't or come in or doesn't want to come in. Just kind of give you an overview of the exhibition itself. So let me navigate to that real quick. So by the way, we put all of these videos on our Facebook page, the Dunedin Fine Art Center Facebook page under videos. We have a lot of videos there. You can also go to Dunedin Fine Art Center's YouTube page, where we have posted lots of artist talks and talks with our teachers and students and members. So here we go. Just a nice walk through the exhibition before we talk about the works. All right. Hope that gives everybody a good idea about the exhibition. It's a really beautiful one. We'll go into our presentation here now. Catherine, take it away.
All right. Welcome, everyone. And thanks for showing the little video there, Nathan. I think that that gives a good idea of some of the incredible details and the range of the show. Before I proceed, I can't see myself. I think that might give me confidence. So I'm trying to figure out how that works, Nathan. To gallery view, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, there I am. Okay. I would like to first say how the show came to be. And we plan our exhibits a couple of years in advance. I have known Jan and Kimberly for many years and been great admirers of their work and have watched their evolution. And it seemed a very natural pairing. And it really was indeed a pleasure to work with the paintings and the sculptures in the space staging the show. Jan, I would like to mention, who's had a long career in ceramics as well as other media, fiber in particular. We'll let her talk more about that later. But Jan has a piece in the show that won the best of show in our members show a couple years ago. And that is featured prominently. So without much further delay, I would like to invite Jan to tell us about her sculptures.
Okay, hello. You can hear me? Okay, wonderful. Well, as Catherine mentioned, I've been doing this a long time. And most recently, I became fascinated initially with African linear designs. As you see them on a lot of their early pots, you see it in their fibers. And at the same time, I was interested in warrior boats. I'd been to China. I had studied a lot of boats from various cultures. And in China, I spent most of my time in the big museum in Beijing, lurking around the ancient pieces. And they had some ancient boats that were pretty cool. So I started combining. I made boats that didn't have interesting linear designs. And then I started doing this. And as you can see on this piece, this is the piece that won Best in Show. This coloration is the result of a wood-fired kiln that we have at the Moorian Center for Clay. It's quite huge and fascinating, and everyone should come see it. It's the pieces are put in and are subjected to fire for about 5 days. And that means there's a team of people throwing wood in constantly. And so the coloration, it depends on how the flame is working its way through the kiln. And you never know what you're going to find. And on this one, you can see a really interesting combination of circles and straight lines. And then in addition, there are metal pieces that I put that in before it's fired. It's a special kind of wire. and I just find it very interesting. The piece also has designs on the inside and the underneath. I'm fascinated too by the early Japanese pieces that would have designs in places you wouldn't expect them. And so I usually do that. Probably no one ever sees them, but I do. And that's important to me.
Dan, do you want me, would you like for us to take a look at some of the other vessels of this type in the show to talk about coloration?
Possibly. Mm-hmm. As we proceed,
okay,
we can do that.
So you were saying, Jan, that you do incredible markings on the bottoms and on the insides of the vessels.
Yes.
I noticed, yes.
And you noticed that the other day when we were having
yes.
a meeting with the...
And these are called the Ancient Warrior Vessels, yes?
This is the Ancient Warrior Vessels Series 2. The series
that was with the addition of the wire, was it?
Yes, the addition of the wire, and frankly, the shape and the more elaborate design work. And I'm still knee deep in series 2. It's really fun. I believe most of the pieces in the exhibit are the series 2 pieces. And then the drones, well, that's a whole nother group. This is a drone. I was making a lot of tabletop pieces, and something evolved, and I decided it was time to make some wall pieces. There were several reasons, some practical, some just for fun. The bigger pieces are intergalactic warrior vessels. We had the boats that were more early cultures that were spreading their message, the message being in the linear designs. Then we evolved to the intergalactic warrior pieces, the very large ones, which you'll see there. Those are the command vessels, and they're the wires are a slightly different kind of wire. These are copper wires that I soak in a solution so that they become looking quite ancient. I have a fascination with things that have been recently excavated, so I try and incorporate elements of that in my work. I've always been fascinated by early cultures. Those are copper wires that sat and became a delicious color of aged green. Then those wires are not copper. Those are the Canthal wires that will take heat in the kiln up to 2,500 degrees. Yet another. The device in the center of the top piece is a piece of copper. It's some kind of an electrical clamp, which I also soaked, actually, that one for a couple of years to get that really luscious color. And then the green glaze is sprayed on in such a way that it looks like it's been buffeted around in space. The circular object in the center of this one is a luscious old piece of metal I found near my studio at the Memorial Center for Clay. When I find interesting pieces of metal on the ground, they become part of my collection of old things to put on my pots.
Now, Jan, you said that the works evolved from pedestal pieces to the walls for, that certainly involves your mythology. and then the wall pieces being the communication vessels, and then the smaller drones. But what were the other considerations that drove you to create pieces for the walls? Just curious.
Well, actually, it was a very practical suggestion from Nathan.
Wow!
A show at
Well done, Nathan.
an art center, and
Oh.
the discussion, they didn't have pedestals, I believe.
Oh.
And so we did that. And that's pretty funny.
It worked out really well, Jan.
It worked out really well. Thank you.
The Palmetto Fine Art Center is in
Exactly.
Palmetto, which is just across the bridge, and they their main exhibition space is also classroom space, multi-use space, event space. So they can't really use pedestals for fear of things falling off them, of course. So yeah, we had the discussion about, hey, can we put these on the wall? And it's been really fun to watch you like expand on that idea over the last 3 years or so. And
yeah, it has.
And then figure out, and plan in the installation element too, because I think that's not something a lot of people think about with clay pieces on the wall. Is like, how am I going to hang this thing? And because you can't just. It was
interesting, and it's evolved in a good way.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to ask you, Jan, a question about the elements that you find, and then you save for a couple of years and put them in, whatever kind of chemical baths. Because so many artists, myself included, are very kind of in the now, when we're making things. And I can't say that I would necessarily have the foresight to save a little object for years, thinking that I might or might not use it down the road. So how
You're not like the rest of us, Nathan.
That's a lot of patience, though. That's a lot of patience, Jan, is what I'm saying. How do you know that? How do you know you're going to use something in the future, or you don't?
I don't know. I just am. I like them. Well, at the train station, where we park, there aren't very many left because I've probably picked most of them up. But there are funny round things like that one object that was in one of the earlier pieces we looked at, and rusty old lug nuts. The train station, that is a funny old rusty lug nut, I think. The train station has been an old train station. I have yet to wander on the other side where hopefully the trains came in and hopefully they dropped interesting things, but they're probably under the Pinellas Trail. The truck where we park is where the trucks would come in after they unloaded the trains, and then they would take things. And there's just stuff in the ground. And when I walk around, I'm very, being an older person, I'm conscious of falling, and so I kind of watch the ground when I walk. A practical thing, and so that's another time I find things. You just never know.
Now I'm going to put you on the spot about your linear language. Will you reveal to us the messages that are contained, or is that for interpretation?
That's for interpretation. I'm currently reading a fascinating book called Patterns That Connect. I'll have to talk about that next time. And it incorporates all the languages, the early languages, from the Asian, the Aboriginal, the African, the Islamic cultures. You see these symbols always. Perhaps they're just an interesting decorative element for them. Perhaps not. Perhaps they actually are pointing one to directions. Perhaps the circles are indicative of the calendar year. All of these, as you can see, each one is a little different, directing people to maybe they're dials, or they're something to do with the movement of the sun and the moon.
Jan, before you begin to incise the surface, do you have a general drawing you're referencing, or do you?
No, I don't.
Wow.
I start with the big lines, and then things just suggest themselves to me.
Okay.
And the same with the small, this is the Crescent series, the same with them. This one was in 2 kilns.
Mhm.
It was in the wood kiln, and it wasn't wonderful. And then I put it back in another kiln, in the soda kiln, and it became more wonderful.
I like that one.
And then again with the soda kiln, it's a smaller kiln, and you can put you
I like
put
the shape.
soda ash and water in it, and it rolls around and covers the pieces in a cloudy way. This one was not. This was done in an electric kiln, and it has a really nice, interesting design. I feel like I'm in the jungle with that one.
And that had a beautiful pattern inside, as I remember,
It does.
as most of them do.
That's part of the fun, is doing all the surprise elements. It's just fun. It's totally mesmerizing. The piece on the right was actually also in 2 kilns.
And you
both
can-
on the gum and the soda, and the one on the left was in the soda kiln.
I feel like the wire elements just add so much. And was that an epiphany moment when you decided to start? The wires are, it's almost like the line is extended into space, the surface decoration, but it
Yep.
just, it takes
Yeah.
them to a whole other level, I feel.
Absolutely. It was I had done some small pieces with the use of it to experiment and see how it held up in the kilns. And things say they're going to work in a kiln, but you have to try it first. There are a lot of surprises in the ceramics world. You can spend days making the most beautiful piece, and you'll put it in the first firing, and it will be beautiful, and you'll glaze it. And then you take it out of the second firing, and it has a huge crack through it. So it's interesting. And these ones, of course, all came out without a crack, perhaps because I've learned how to avoid them. Perhaps just the kiln gods were happy.
And Jan, we just want to take a quick moment here and acknowledge these red dots that we might see.
Yeah.
So congratulations on
Yeah,
that. We have
thank
some.
you. It's very exciting.
Mhm.
And I know who they're going to, too. Ms. Kimberly and Scott. That was an exciting day. That was the first day.
It was a great
3
day.
sales that day.
Now,
Cheers.
this
So Jan,
piece,
this one's a little different. It doesn't have any wire, and the scale is quite large. What's going on here?
it was an experiment, a fun experiment. I wanted to try a slightly different feeling. We had a wonderful workshop at our studio, and a gentleman, one of the old guard, well-known people in the craft, in the clay world, was showing us a way to design, and he would fold a piece of paper in half and then just cut and make the shape of a pot. And so I tried that, and I thought, well, this is kind of fun. And it's something I'm continuing to explore. Sometimes I do wire on them, sometimes not. This one was in the soda kiln. There the drone You can see the way the flame patterns on the piece where it's oranger. That is the effect of the soda. Where it gets very gray or it gets a really hard gray line. There's one on the left-hand side on the edge that's called carbon trapping. And that's something that seems to mostly happen in the soda kiln. And this is drone series. This is a glaze called Ancient Bronze. And I used these are old rusty lug nuts and then some copper finished little communication knobs. These drones are sending messages in and out of the communication vessels. And when you look at a lot of the drones and the small pieces, you will see round things. And so in my imagination, those are portals for information to pass in and out.
I see breasts. I see nipples.
I do too.
Yeah. And you know what I also love is how your works definitely have an ancient reference, but the language you use is futuristic and they are also extremely contemporary at the same time as having that sort of link to the past and the future.
And the future, and how we are all alike.
Yes.
In the past, and in the future, and now. We all basically speak a common language. The little speckles in the gray one are, I embedded sand, pool filter sand in the clay as I was making it. And they're very interesting.
Jan, when you're carving on the surface, it's on a semi-hardened form, is that right?
Yes. Yeah. The clay.
So it's a delicate process to draw on them. I mean, they can get damaged in the drawing process, I would imagine, before they're fired.
Absolutely. The clay is soft. It's a form called leather hard, or a stage in the development. When clay first comes out of mixing the clay, it's pretty floppy, like early dough. And then I roll out slabs of clay and let it sit for a couple days till it gets sort of stiff, not quite like cardboard. It has to still be curved. You have to ask it to do certain shapes, but it's sort of soft. And then I do I do part of the carving before I put it together. And then after I put the parts together, then I add to the carving, or in this case, the texture on the orange one, the one on the left, has some texture on the inside. And so that has to be accomplished afterwards. And then you have to reach down in and do some of the line drawings or the ones that are underneath. And the clay is still damp, but it's at a stage actually where you don't want it to distort at all. If it distorts, no telling what it'll do in the kiln. It can come out and be so wonky because clay has a memory, and that's a whole nother technical thing that we'll talk about another time. Once it is all put together, then the piece has to dry very, very slowly or it will crack. And then several firings, a glazing, and you're so happy when it comes out and it's wonderful.
Well, they are wonderful, without a doubt. They are wonderful. Now, if I'm correct, Nathan, at the end, we're going to have everybody have a chance, or right now they can be writing in questions that we'll address at the end.
If anyone has questions, feel free to unmute yourself and shout them out during the meeting, just like Catherine and I. Be polite, of course. But the other thing you can do, of course, is type your question into the chat, and we'll address the questions at the end of the presentation. So yeah, we can keep going.
I think we're at the point in the program now to welcome Kimberly. Yes.
Yes.
And thank you, Jan.
Oh, thank you. It's been great.
Yes. So as I mentioned, I felt in pairing Kimberly and Jan's works that there was an affinity that I couldn't quite put my finger on, but I could see them in the gallery together and how they might, and the aim is always to show works that enhance one another or might have another level of communication when they're shown together. Kimberly, I have known for probably a decade, I think, Kimberly, and we met here at the Art Center, and I always knew that her artistry, it always carried a very fresh contemporary energy, and in knowing her, I had a strong sense of the thought that went into the thought or the unthought that went into her creating. But I mean, she is very well read and very well studied, having gone to the Cincinnati Institute of the Arts. Is that right, Kimberly? Oh, we got to unmute you. Yes.
Hello, everybody.
The Cleveland Institute.
Cleveland, yes, Cleveland
Yes.
Institute of Art.
Yes, and so you've had a long career of devotion to the arts. I know we almost lost you to another career path, but I'm so thankful that you had an epiphany that you are an artist and you were always an artist. And she came back with total vim and vigor and devotion to her practice. And many of the works in the gallery I know were created over the last year and a half. And I am going to now turn it over to you, Kimberly, to tell us about your beautiful work.
Thank you. I got a little emotional watching that video that you created. It's like I really saw the work, Jan's work, my work, as if I wasn't the creator. I mean, it choked me up a little bit. It could be this twice removed, how we are right now on, in Zoom land. It doesn't, but the music, the pairings and all of that. And I didn't realize, of course, you guys wear so many hats, and thank you so much for learning a program to create this so that, the people that cannot come to the gallery at this time can still, have access to it. The Dunedin Fine Art Center has such an amazing community, and it's going to be amazing when all this is past us, to be able to gather and just be with each other again. I just can't thank you enough to everybody, the village, as Nathan said. So I'm wondering if you guys can see me, because I don't see myself.
I can see you, yes.
Oh, okay. I don't really need to see myself.
No,
that's fine.
It kind of helps, though. I think it helps. If Kimberly wanted, she would go up in the upper right-hand corner, right, Nathan? Is that right?
Because
Oh,
I have,
gotta
you know what? It's okay. It's okay.
It
Yeah, no,
helps.
you can choose your view. You can
It helps.
be on gallery view, and you can see everybody, including yourself, together.
You know, I'm just on my tiny little phone, so maybe this will be
Oh.
better just to
Uh-huh.
kind of,
Okay.
yeah. But
We
thank
can
you
see
guys.
And we can see your studio behind you. We can see all the activity, your laboratory.
Thank you. So I'll just start talking. Basically, I am a very process-oriented person. The work is, it's interesting how you said, or like thoughtless behind it. In a lot of ways, it's really true. I approach a blank canvas, I just go for it. I just start like, I do thin veils of paint. I don't pour paint that much. But I paint very fast. Especially now that I switched to acrylic. I think I switched to acrylic, I don't know, 3 years ago or something. And that's when I really felt like, wow, this makes sense to me, that move, because ever since art school, and it's been quite a while, I'm almost like 2 decades out of art school, and I actually went a little late. So I'm definitely a late bloomer, but I was always just so romantic about the oil, the smell of the oil and all of that. But I've also really haven't swayed in my interests as far as just being very, very interested in post-war abstraction. And I've painted, even though I did many different things through the years, I've always continued to paint. What I have not done, though, is really shown my work other than jury shows here and there. So not necessarily like showing my work in a very long time with this much work, and being paired with Jan it's just incredible to see how I'm speechless. Anyway, if you could help rein me back in, I'm a little scattered today. So I was talking about the process. So I don't start a series of work like, okay, I'm going to do a painting about this. And sometimes I think to myself, well, I'm going to do a series of paintings and I'm going to try to stick within this color palette. And like with the first painting, that just gets blown up because I'm just constantly reacting to something. And foremost, each of these paintings are really singular. It's through working an awful lot and really editing some of the ones that don't really work out well, that there becomes like some sort of cohesion. There's water.
I do want to mention that maybe it's just my monitor, and that's why I encourage everybody to come in person, is the colors are really not as vivid coming across my monitor as they are in actuality. So I just wanted to interject that. It looks like it was a strong light that kind of bleached out somehow in the translation, but I want everybody to come in and see these things in person and encounter them in the physical. So, but go ahead.
Yeah, it's, that just happens. There's nothing like viewing anything, a work of art in person, as opposed to, like 2 times removed. And with these, there's a lot of subtlety and just I'm really interested in color, and in particular the interaction of color, and that's really coming from a history of learning Joseph Elber's interaction of color theory and doing all those exercises, which, by the way, I hated when I was in school. I had such a chip on my shoulder back in school.
But now you have that color that it's not quite like a Pantone chart, but you have color that chips or flashcards, so to speak, that you work with, right?
I don't really, I reference it when I talk about Elber's, like the color aid. I don't really necessarily use it. Well, I mean, I have it in my studio and I play with it, but those are very opaque colors. But what I do is tear up a lot of my paintings that don't work out. So they're just the way I paint. And then I kind of use those to, if I'm working on a painting, I'm stuck on, I'm like, where is this color going, or this transparency? I kind of use like my own recycled work to kind of just, it's like I'm referencing myself. It's so interesting. It's, it's like I'm really to the point where there's so much going on in my studio, and I've longed so much to paint when I was doing other things, that I really am self-referential, and I'm thankful for that. I'm really energized right now, and I love still looking at a lot of artists I admire through art history. And there's some contemporary artists that I also admire because I'm really interested in the lineage, of course. But my work definitely reference the landscape. When I start out, I always start out thinking I'm going to do these abstract paintings, and then boom, there's that horizon line just starts getting in there. And before I moved very close to the Gulf of Mexico, I used to live on a house overlooking Lake Erie for nearly quite a number of years, and then from there around Little Italy and Cleveland. So that's really had a profound impact on me. I mean, I would wake up and look out the window and there was the horizon line. And in a lot of ways, I don't know if this will make any sense, but just looking out at the horizon line, to me, it was almost like a stage. Like there's this, I see that when I'm creating a painting. Like I like this sort of elusive, because that's how it is in life, this elusive horizon line, and you're trying to look at it, and then as soon as you think you have it, there's like some kind of glare or atmospheric element, and then everything shifts and color shift, and everything's always shifting so fast. And also with a lot of these paintings, there's this feeling of they're really the one on the right that I'm viewing right now, that one's called Shore. And it's so funny because I do a painting almost every year and title it Shore. Because I figure at least I can categorize it. It's like in a lot of ways, all these paintings could be called Shore. and yet the shore is disappearing. I mean, there's this feeling of groundlessness, and then you can kind of go back and think about in an outward sense, how the environment, how the oceans are rising, and this sense of uncertainty that we all feel. And I'm remembering what Jen Jan just said too, and what I think about constantly, and it's not even a belief, it's a truth for me, is that we are made up very similarly. And I'm an intuitive painter. I believe emotions are kind of like a map for you to kind of, like in an individual way, to kind of gauge the world. And there's beauty in that. There's this push and pull, I think, ultimately in my work, where there's all I can speak for really is my own self. And I just had an immense amount of opportunity this year to really delve inward. And I do a lot of stream of consciousness writing, not every morning, but nearly every morning. And I think about and just, I really just feel things, you know, and I guess these are just kind of translations on a two-dimensional space, you know, nothing new, but it's just, you know, any one of these paintings aren't necessarily about one thing, because even though sometimes they seem very spontaneous, a lot of times they're just layers, and they're thin layers, but sometimes they get completely covered up and turn into something else. And I'm basically just responding to whatever I did in the studio, you know, on a previous day. Like, I look at it formally, like compositionally, or how, you know, I can even reference my own statement I wrote. It's like somewhat like putting a puzzle together, but I didn't write this, but not really, you know, it's, you know, it's just, it's very important to me when I speak about my work, not to intellectualize it, because it's really not about that. And ultimately it really is about like, just making it, it's just this absolute, honestly, compulsion of mine. You know, you referenced that I was going down another career path, and just things sort of showed up in my life that just completely, you know, there were many things that just sort of added up, and now here I am, and I'm just so thankful, because everything just kind of got aligned. It's only been about a year and a half that I've had this big space to work in. And every day I'm just so grateful for it, because I dreamed and yearned to have a space and time like this for forever, really. I knew I wanted to be an artist when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
So,
you know what?
It really is. When I don't paint, I don't behave well. I gotta tell. And now I know that about myself. So it's a need. It's a real need. You know, if there's not, you know, I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that.
I think that's true for many. I was going to say that.
Yeah.
And you know, I will say how much I enjoy the range of size of the pieces in the gallery. So you turn to acrylics, and that was very applicable for the works on paper. I love the intimacy of the works on paper, this series that are in the gallery, and the large scale. I mean, some of the paintings are, what's the largest? 5 feet. 5 feet.
Yeah, actually, at this point, they're just large enough to barely get in my car.
Yeah, that's the.
And if I stack two, I can't stack two. So they are 5 feet. No, 4 by 5.
Yeah, 4 by 5. Now, I wanted to say that how what a pleasure it is to see the works from afar, and the impact of the presence of the color and the movement, but those beautiful and you know, through the miracle of the photography, we can share those close-up details that really show your show the washes, show the range of brushes you're using, and you use the word veil, which I think of a lot as I look at your work. And I also have a strong sense of music and calligraphy with your pieces.
Oh, yes, I am a lover of music. I constantly listen to music, all kinds of music, classical music. Not really, the only thing, I don't know contemporary pop anymore. I'm just like not interested, but anything else, from Prince and the Revolution, huge. That tells you my age. I'm a Gen Xer. To, oh gosh, anything on a 4AD label, if you guys are familiar. I love music, and sometimes it just puts me right there. Music, all our senses, really. Senses like music, smell, hearing.
Yes.
Now I'm getting everything confused as I talk, but yeah, it's
synesthesia.
I'm not technically diagnosed with that. I don't know if that's a popular thing to say, but I do have like little oddities. For instance, I am completely half deaf. So I have tinnitus. I completely have this ringing in my ears that's permanent, and it's with me, and somehow I've made friends with it, and I think it's sort of in those paintings.
I think so.
Color and even before, that's a whole nother story. It's interesting. I'd be happy to, like, if you guys want to know about me, but I really just, it's interesting,
Kimberly, I wanted to open. I wanted
Thank
to open.
you.
I wanted to open the floor.
We do want to know about you. We do.
Kimberly, I want to open the floor to questions from our audience, and I'm gonna get us started here. I'm a painter myself, and I teach painting here at Dunedin. And one of the things that we come into a lot as painters is getting stuck. Really loving parts of a painting and really hating other parts of a painting, and where do we go from there? So just for all our students who are joining us, what do you do when you get stuck? Do you attack, or do you have to sit back and think about it a lot? Or
I got to tell you, Nathan, a little of all three. You mentioned two, and I have a third. Sometimes I just attack to the point of no return. It's like, and especially nowadays, after you can, take a picture of them and process, and then you're like, really, this one's to just, and then they just evolve. Either you can somehow kind of come up with something, or it's just to a point where you put it aside, jessel over it, and be like, okay, it's a support again that I can start a new one. So that's one answer to that question. Yes, I get everyone goes through that. So the point where you attack to the point of no return. But what I do that seems to work for me is that I kind of recognize when that's going to happen, and I turn the painting towards the wall. I don't look at it. Sometimes I don't look at it for up to months, and I just can constantly keep starting new work. I work on several things at once. Right now I'm working on 10 paintings that are small all at once. Wow. So when I get stuck, and it's kind of like this lyrical dance, I'm kind of looking at, they're all like on the ground right now, just kind of like facing me. But it's not so much like I don't work on them all at once. They're still very singular, but I work on so many because of the stuck factor. It's not because I'm working on so many and I want them to make sense together so much. Although that's starting to happen, the more and more that I paint, things are finally starting to kind of interact together. Different pieces on different canvases are having an interaction. So that's
Jan?
another way. And then the third way, I think that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jan, as a ceramicist, do you have the same issue? Do you get stuck on things?
Absolutely. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Hideously.
Yeah.
And then you pace around and you put it away. And I've figured out ways that I can cover the work up and keep it moist enough to be viable for more work later. Because that's one of the other tricky things about clay. Yeah, always. Or then you've got a whole nice kiln load that's come out and you say, well, what's next? So that is, I think, a problem for all of us.
It looks like we have a question from Jamie Fournier. Let me see if we can get Jamie. Are you there?
Yeah. Yes, I have unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah. What's your question?
Right. Yeah. Thanks. I'm calling from New York. I've been watching the presentation. I plan to move to Dunedin, right around summer. But I'll be there on the weekend of the 12th of February. And I was wondering if Saturday the 13th, it'll be open to see the exhibit in person. Are you taking me in person?
Yeah, unfortunately, our hours right now are Monday through Friday, 10 to 5, just because of the COVID situation. Catherine?
Monday you'll be open. I believe that's the 15th.
Yes.
Yeah,
Monday, 10.
I can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll make it then on Monday. I think, Kimberly, this is fascinating. I also paint, and I transferred also from oil to acrylics, but you have mastered it to a degree that I'm still trying to do with the transparencies and and being able to keep your colors come out without being like overdone or it's really enjoy it. And my second question was, is your studio close by? I mean, I sent a question saying that in your statement you say that you're meters away or feet away from the Gulf of Mexico. Are you?
Oh, well, I used to be. When I first moved here, I did move to Dunedin, and I lived right across the street from the Gulf of Mexico.
Okay.
And it was only, I think, a year and a half where we moved to northern Clearwater, still in Pinellas County. The Dunedin Fine Art Center is still 10 minutes away from me. But I lived in an area, anyway, maybe after the call, somehow we can exchange information or you can email me.
Sure.
Find my contact info. Because I would love to meet with you if you're looking for, I can even help show you around if you want. But I lived in a place where there were little pocket parks reserved, this little neighborhood in Dunedin, and the sun, the effects of the water was incredible. At that point, I painted in my garage.
So Kimberly, your website is KimberlyEngel.com.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Yeah.
Okay. And Jan, you are launching your new website today. Is that right?
Yes, it's there.
Okay.
Nice.
Jan
How
Richardson.
exciting.
Jan Richardson, ceramist.com.
Correct. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jan, I got to sign up, but I want to say, Jan, that I think Catherine's appraisal of being in the past and the future at the same time is really right on. When I saw your pieces, I couldn't tell. I said this artist is either from another planet and
Great. I love it.
showing as something new, but the tendency is to relate it to old artifacts, and like how far can you go back, or if you've been to pre-Columbian or any other parts of the world, in Indonesia or stuff. But it didn't look like anything I had seen before, and very refreshing too. So I really appreciate it, and just the fact that they're gonna be real artists when I moved next summer
I
is really
know.
That's
encouraging.
great. We will welcome you with open arms, Jamie.
Oh yes, hoping to
And
meet you.
amazing-
I gotta go to another webinar, and on
Yeah.
this is on project management. I'm also an architect, so I gotta do this. But
Okay.
I just had to spend the time, and I hope to meet you all.
Thank
in
you.
I
person
look
sometime.
forward to it, Jamie. Thank you.
Great, Jamie.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Are there any other questions out
Yes.
there?
Yes, there is.
Okay, what's your name?
Betty Bossell. And
Betty.
Hello.
her pieces are so large. Does she work flat, or do you work on an easel, or do you work flat on those pieces?
I actually work on the wall. So I screw this thing in the wall, and then I just hang the painting on the wall. Every once in a while I'll put them on the floor and kind of push paint around, but mostly it's really fast brush work
Okay.
right on the wall.
Now they're very gestural. Yes.
Thank you.
They're beautiful. Absolutely. The colors are gorgeous.
Thank you so
I
much.
saw the show last week. The colors are just vibrant.
Oh,
Oh.
great, Betty. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Betty.
you.
Anyone else? Okay.
Well, it's been our pleasure. It has been our complete pleasure, and it is our honor and privilege to have the works here. And we invite everybody to come 10 to 5, Monday through Friday. And what else, Nathan? We can arrange a special tour of a small group if you're interested.
That's right. That's right. And
Of
we have
all of our exhibits.
classes are up and rolling. The winter 2 session is coming up. So you can go online at dfac.org and take a look at all the classes we offer, which everything from jewelry to food to painting to ceramics, printmaking, pretty much anything you want to do, we offer. Of course, we do have, as we noted before, special hours now, our COVID hours, I guess, 10 to 5, Monday through Friday. And then, as Catherine mentioned, we offer special tours that we're calling enriched curator tours. These are for groups between 5 and 8 people, 8 maximum, due to CDC guidelines about how many people per room. But these are really fun. We can do one a week, so you have to contact us at least a week in advance. The reason being is that we have to contact all the artists in the shows and see if they're available to come in person or speak to us via Zoom, live on Zoom while the tour is happening. So either way, you get to engage with the artists directly right in front of their work. So it's a really safe way to engage artwork in person again. Just like, what Kimberly was saying is there kind of isn't much of a substitute for seeing something in real life, but we're doing our best.
Yeah, you guys are doing great.
It's wonderful. It's so exciting to see this on Zoom and the YouTube that will be coming up.
Yes, we'll have this recorded that you can share with friends.
That's right.
After today. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank
Have a
you, you
great day.
too.
Bye.
Have
Take
fun.
care.